All right, now joining the show is Stanford star receiver Elic Ayomanor, one of the best receivers in college football. Elic, thanks for joining the show, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me.
Of course, of course. So the first question I love asking any college football player I have on this show is like, listen, there was a moment in my life where I realized, oh, I'm terrible at football. I can't make a career in the college football or the NFL. What was the moment in your life, though, when you're like, wait a minute, I could be a college football player, maybe even NFL player down the line?
Maybe my sophomore year of high school. I'm originally from Canada. And so my first year playing American football was my sophomore year. And we had a whole bunch of Division I receivers on my team. I went to Petty School, New Jersey, my sophomore year. And so when I first got there, I was not the best player. In fact, I was probably one of the worst players on the team. But I think I realized that like the level that they were at was pretty attainable for me. And so I think from then on, I realized that my goals were in reach.
Dude, I know you went to the Petty School. I actually, I don't know if you know St. Joe's High School in Metuchen, New Jersey. That's where I went to high school. So
Very nice.
we played you guys a couple times, man. It was pretty cool. But yeah, you just mentioned, man, you left your home in Canada to come play high school football in the United States. What was that whole experience like? I know leaving your mom was a tough thing for you, but what was that whole experience like leaving, your home country to come to another country and try to fulfill your lifelong dream?
Yeah, I think when you have ambition and a goal in mind, it can make things a lot easier because everything that you're doing is necessary, or at least the opportunities in front of you are something that you think are going to progress you towards your goal faster, give you better opportunities. And so I think having that in the back of my mind made it much, much easier for me because I knew all the things that I was doing were for a reason. I think for the people that were around me, it might have been a little bit harder because they weren't in it with me. They weren't there with me. And so it can kind of be like a scary process to let somebody leave that early.
Yeah, absolutely. So when did you know, because obviously the opportunities in the U.S. are obviously better than they are in Canada for football. When did you know as a kid that you wanted to play football instead of maybe some other sports?
I guess I grew up playing hockey because kind of that's what everybody does in Canada. And so I want to say I started playing football like just before middle school. And then when you go into middle school, like grade 6, 7, and 8 is when you really have to decide like if you're gonna take the hockey thing pretty seriously in Canada. But at that point, I really had to start to fall in love with football, and so I quit playing hockey. I think when I was 12, and pursued football long term.
How good of a hockey player were you? Any good?
I think I was pretty good. Yeah, I think in general I'm just a good athlete, so that translated well to hockey.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. So obviously coming out of high school, you had offers from programs like Notre Dame, Tennessee, Arizona. What made you choose Stanford and be a Cardinal?
Yeah, I think one, it was just my goal from the beginning. Of academics and athletics have always been like a big thing in my life. And my mom always stressed being like a competitor and being, I guess in my household, if you do something, it's kind of taboo to not try to be the best at that thing that you're doing. And so I've always been super competitive in both realms. And I think just naturally, like if you're that type of person, Stanford's the school that comes to mind immediately. And so it's always been my goal. I know like in the process, a lot of the other schools, I started to learn more about them and I started to get a little bit more invested in them. But at the end of the day, I like reevaluated and said, Stanford is the place that people like me go.
Absolutely, man. So obviously Stanford, one of the top academic schools in the country. Like I know you're probably gonna have a long and fruitful career in the NFL once you're done playing at Stanford, but what about post NFL? What are you planning on doing after you finish with your football career?
Yeah, I'm really not sure yet. I'm majoring in computer science. And actually this summer I did an internship in private equity. And so I really don't know. I'm just trying to experiment and see what it is that I like the most and then go from there. But right now I'm really just focused on football and making the most of that journey. Obviously you have the academics and the job on the side, but like the main focus here is football.
How was that internship, man? What'd you do this summer?
Good. I mostly worked as an analyst. And so like they would give me data for companies that we might be looking to acquire in the future. And so I break down the data, make models for them, and kind of like we're the first eyes on the companies that we're looking at. And so we kind of say like whether or not we think this would be a good company for us to pursue further. And then from there, the more senior analysts and the associates, if they like it as well, they'll keep pushing it down the line.
Damn, I think that's really impressive, man. But obviously, coming out of high school, you weren't even a top 900 recruit in the country. Did you kind of feel underrated in that whole recruiting process?
I mean, yeah, I guess like objectively, I probably was underrated, but I don't know. It's just like coming from Canada, you go to a boarding school in the Northeast. There's really not that much media around the market, and so it's like you can't really expect yourself to be rated accurately if you don't have eyes on you all the time. For me, it was just like I wanted to get schools to see me, and that was all that mattered. I didn't really care about what I guess the recruiting services rated me. Um, because at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter. When you get to college, everybody becomes all your stars go away, and it's square one again. And so I just wanted to get to the university that I wanted to be at.
Dude, if you're getting Power Five offers, it doesn't really matter where you're, rated at, right? Because everyone comes in the same way. So I love that mentality, man. Obviously, it's been a tough road for you. Obviously, though, you battled some injuries in high school. You had a torn ACL and MCL in your freshman year at Stanford. How difficult was it being on the sideline for so long and going through the whole recovery process as you're trying to really learn how to play the game, right? Because you came into the U.S. in high school later than other players have started. So how difficult was that? Spending most of your development time on the sidelines.
Yeah, I think from just a competitive standpoint, it just is tough. I played through all of fall camp and got injured like the last week before the first game, and I thought I was doing pretty well. And then like you feel like you can compete out there and you feel like you're ready, and then all of a sudden you just have to watch. I mean, a lot of the games I ended up just being at my dorm watching them on TV when we were traveling away. And so like you just feel so distant from where you want to be, which is definitely tough. But I think a lot of the times like those like little bouts of adversity that you go through are pretty crucial in like your character development. And so I think like there's definitely some positive things that came out of it as well.
Absolutely, man. So obviously you had a massive breakout year. Not a lot of people knew your name heading into the season. Now everyone knows your name right now. When did you kind of get the feeling like, okay, yeah, I'm getting rolling now as a redshirt freshman. Like I'm really starting to become a star in college football?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I really have a specific answer for that. I really just try to stay like pretty grounded, stay like in the present. Because I mean, of course, the past doesn't really matter that much, and the future is really undetermined. And so, I try to stay pretty present in the moment and let things play out how they do. I think if you are focused on what you're doing right now and giving 100% effort and putting all of your being into the present, you'll be fine. So I don't have a specific answer for that question.
I'll give you a specific answer right now, man. That Colorado game. That was the game where everyone was like, who the heck is this Elic Ayomanor kid? But in that game, man, you had 0 catches in the first half. Did you kind of go into that locker room pissed off knowing, hey, I could take over if you guys let me? And then obviously you did in the second half.
I think in general, I get pretty angry in the game just in general. That's kind of just how I like to play. So I do remember my coach saying something to me that was like, it really like just hit me, and I was definitely, my emotions were running high, but not too high, just a good level of calm anger. And so, yeah, I definitely carried that into the second half, of course. But sometimes it's just the opportunity and the talent level just come together, and like you just get lucky like that, because ultimately you can't really control the outcome of the games. But yeah, everything just came together that night.
Dude, you had 294 yards in the second half of that game and 3 touchdowns in the second half and overtime of that game. What was that feeling like, man? Did you kind of just like black out and just be in the zone in that game? Like, what was that whole second half like when you go from 0 yards in the first half to a program record almost 300 yards in the second half? What was all that like, man?
Yeah, I think it was, I wouldn't describe it as blacking out, but more you're just very, very focused. You can't really think about much more than what your job is at that specific moment. It was definitely a very interesting feeling. You remember a lot of it because, like I said, you're very focused on what's happening right now. So yeah, I try to replicate that as much as I can in practice and games.
So obviously, dude, one of the guys guarding you on most of those plays was Travis Hunter. Did going up against a guy like Travis Hunter kind of get the juices flowing, and you wanted to prove yourself? Hey, I'm the best in the country, and I'm trying to prove myself against one of the other best players in the country too.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a very great player on both sides of the ball, actually. But I think just in general, like the mindset of our team is like every time we are competing, it's like a faceless opponent. Because I think if you get too involved with like oh, I'm going against this person, or it's like a personal battle, sometimes you can get inconsistent with your emotions. And so our coach says this all the time, like, hey, when we go out there to compete, like we're gonna compete like our life depends on it. Like it's the end of the world. But at the end of the day, we keep in mind that it's just a blank faceless opponent. So yeah.
So, dude, another question I love asking guys is, what do you think has been the best play of your career so far? The one I would say for you is probably that catch over Travis Hunter where you caught it on his helmet. What would you go with? And kind of go into that play, if you can, a little bit too, of what kind of your mind was going through on that play.
My best play in college football. I have two. There's one against Oregon where we we were running, I want to say inside zone to the boundary, and I had a crack block, and the the safety fell down really fast, and we're taught to like when he falls down fast, we gotta come faster. And I just sprinted in there and I kind of depleted him. I'd say that was a pretty good play for me. And then one against Washington, I had a touchdown on like a go route from the field. I was singled up to the field. I thought I had a pretty good release, and I thought I stayed vertical after the release, and then separated at the last second. So I thought, like overall, like in terms of the teachable technique, that was a good rep as well. But in terms of like the catch at Colorado, like a lot of that's just you're just playing. Like even my release wasn't that great. I was running slants all game, obviously, and so I tried to pair the release off the slant. But he stayed with me pretty well, and then ball's a little bit underthrown, and I guess that's like the opportunity where you get to get pass interference, or you're going to be on Sports Center. And so our coach, he's just if the ball gets underthrown, attack it as hard as you can and as aggressively as you can, because like he said, you either get PI or you get on Sports Center. And the latter happened.
Elic, I think you're the first receiver in history to answer that question with a block. That is incredible, man. I love the fact that, not you making a highlight reel catch, not you making a 70-yard touchdown grab. It's you cracking down for your team. I love that, man. That's a great answer. What do you think separates you, man, from other wide receivers around college football right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all fast. We're all quick. We all have pretty good hands. So I think all those things like are table stakes for the most part, for great receivers. But I think I'm a very detailed person. And I think I have a little bit of a mental edge as well. And so I think like in those mental aspects of the game, like being consistent, being detailed in your plays, your routes, being coachable, and also just having that like competitive edge, I think that's where I kind of gain on some people.
Do you feel like right now that you are the best receiver in college football?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to have confidence in yourself. I wouldn't like be going out saying, "Oh, I'm the best receiver in college football," and boasting it like that. But I think like internally, you got to think to yourself like, "Hey, like if I want to be the best, like you got to believe that you're the best." And so yeah, I believe that, and I believe that that's because of like the past of work that I've put in. Like I'm just very confident in the work that I've done so far leading up to this point. And I think like when push comes to shove, I'm gonna fall back on that work and be well off.
Fair enough, man. And, after such a dominant year, many players in your shoes would have chased more in NIL and entered the transfer portal. What did you ever think about that? And if you did, what made you want to stay at Stanford for another year?
No, I never thought about transferring or entering the portal or trying to get more money. I think one, if you're actually a good player, if you're as good as you think you are, you're gonna make money at the end of the day. Like, yeah, if I'm a good player, I'm going to go to the NFL and I'm going to make money regardless. So I don't think that chasing money in college is necessarily the right decision. Like I said earlier, I came to Stanford for a very specific reason. And it's because I'm a competitive person overall. I wanted to be excellent in every aspect of life. And so I think leaving Stanford wouldn't really be staying true to that character. And so to me, it was like when people ask me if I'm going to transfer or they're trying to get me to transfer, I'm like, well, there's really no reason for me to transfer. Like I'm in the exact place that I need to be at.
You don't have to answer specific schools, but did anyone actually reach out to you and try to convince you to enter the portal or no?
I mean, not to me in specific, because that would not be legal, but definitely to like my people on my team and people that are in close contact with me or like previous coaches for sure.
Sure. Dude, you just mentioned it. You're like, if you're good, you're going to be able to make money in the NFL. I mean, you're very good, man. So have you kind of ever thought about fulfilling your dream of making the NFL really, really soon, probably?
Yeah, I mean, I've always being in the NFL has always been in the back of my mind. Like I said, I love to stay in the present, so I don't get too far ahead of myself. I just work like I know I need to get there. But in my mind, I'm not always like, oh, am I gonna go to the NFL now or later? Or it's just, hey, like keep working and things will fall into place when they need to.
Absolutely, man. So obviously, a big part of making that jump to the NFL, it would be the NFL Combine. You're a freak athlete, man. Is there a combine event that you think eventually, when you get to the combine, that you will just dominate and really wow a lot of people in?
I think I'll have a good 40, and I think my broad jump will be pretty good as well.
I need. Do you have a time for a 40, man? What do you think you'd be running right now?
I think I run sub 4.4. And I
Wow.
think broad jump I can get 11 feet.
Damn, man. That'd be really good, dude. And another question on the NFL I love asking players too is like, man, there's probably a lot of mock drafts right now that have your name at the top of it, right? Do you ever see any of those mock drafts? Do your friends or family ever send you any of those mock drafts? And what does that kind of mean to you to see your name mocked in such high regard and like that?
Yeah, I mean it means nothing. At the end of the day, where you get drafted is what actually matters, or if you get drafted is what matters. Like I guess like mock drafts or like top whatever lists, watch lists. Like to be honest, that means absolutely nothing because what you actually do and what actually happens is what matters. So yeah.
Dude, the only mock drafts that matter are the ones I put out, man. So I'll make sure to send you the ones that I put out, and then that'll be the ones that matters. But that's a great answer, man. Honestly, dude, what is your why? What makes you get out of bed every morning and try to be as great of a player and as great of a person that you can be?
Yeah, I think when I was younger, it just was purely like I just wanted to be the best. Like I'm just super competitive. But as I get older, I start to realize like whenever I would say that to the people that supported me, like they never like blinked an eye. Like they just kept supporting me full go and with all of their being. So I think as I get older, that wanting to be the best is still like behind me, but then I'm realizing like the people that are supporting me are also there. So I think it's a combination of those two things, like me wanting to be great and also the people around me supporting that and also wanting me to do that as well. So yeah, I think it's a combination of like internal and just like external community.
I love that, man. That's a great answer. Obviously, we talked a little bit pre-interview about the new college football video game. You're an 88 overall in that video game. Do you feel like that's another chip on your shoulder, and you feel like you're underrated right now in that video game?
I guess I might feel like I'm underrated, but I wouldn't say it's causing a chip on my shoulder or anything like that. Um, I think I have enough chips on my shoulder already.
Okay, I love that, man. I already told you I played against my friend who used Stanford, and he used a slant route with Elic Ayomanor every single freaking play. And I think you had better stats in that game against me than you did in the Colorado game, which is saying a lot, man. So he abused you in that game. It was actually insane. Dude, what's your if I had to tell you right now, hey Elic, we're going with the game on the line right here, fourth down. Whatever route you want to run is fine, but we're gonna throw you the ball regardless. What would be the route that you'd want to run on that game deciding play?
Wait, what was the down and distance again?
So fourth down, let's say 4th and 8, game on the line, down by 4. What would be?
I'm in the boundary,
You're in the boundary. Yes.
1-on-1. Press or off? I guess it doesn't matter. It
Oh,
can be both.
you could be
Yeah, if
both.
it's 1-on-1 in the boundary, 4th and 8, I'll probably go with like, damn, it's an out route to the field to the boundary,
Hmm.
but you kind of have some leeway on how it shakes out.
Okay. Not the slant route that you burned all of Colorado on.
If it was 4th and 3 or I guess 4th and 5, I'd probably go with the slant route. But if we're going 4th and 8, I'm going with the out.
If it was like a 4th and 15, it would just be a straight go route. Would you just want to just go and throw a jump ball to you?
Oh, I'd actually probably go like a curl.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
They're thinking for the go for sure.
I like that. I like that. Dude, another question I wanted to ask you with it's kind of a timely question right now. The Olympics are going on right now. And now it's not this year, but flag football will be a sport down the line in the Summer Olympic Games. Have you thought about representing Canada in that sport maybe down the line in the Olympics?
I have not. That's pretty far away. So when that comes, I'll definitely think about it. But that's definitely interesting. The opportunity to be in the Olympics has always been, I mean, for any athlete, that'd be like a dream come true, right? But I'm very invested in the track for the Olympics. So I've been keeping close tabs on that.
I love that, man. Is there any receivers, maybe in the NFL or maybe even college too, that you kind of look at and try to model your game after a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, just everybody that I see for the most part. Even like players on my team that you guys maybe not have not necessarily seen yet. I take some stuff from them. A lot of NFL receivers, even college receivers that are still in college or just got drafted. Really, just anybody who I can watch. I try to take something from them because everybody has like their knack, their niche, and so like if you can kind of adapt those things to yourself, I think it just makes you a more complete receiver.
Is there any receiver that you like grew up loving to watch and really try to model your game after the most that comes to mind?
Well, when I was growing up, I used to watch Julio Jones a whole bunch. Um, Now I guess I watch Devontae Adams quite a bit. Even like our last couple of receivers, like Mike Wilson,
Mm-hmm.
at Stanford, I watch him quite a bit too. I mean, there's so many good receivers nowadays. You really can't go wrong watching anybody.
That's a loaded position, absolutely, man. And another question I want to ask you is that obviously last year your matchup against Travis Hunter. I know you said that the nameless, the faceless people out there, but are there any corners, maybe down the line, even in the NFL, that you're like, man, I cannot wait to run routes against that corner, or maybe even college right now? Is there any corner that you're kind of circling on your calendar and saying, I can't wait to go up against him?
It's just every time you get an opportunity to go against any defensive player, like safety, corner, nickel, it's just it's just exciting. Like you get to go against new competition. You get to see how you stacked up against them. And so honestly, like I got every single game circled on the calendar this year. So
I love that, man. There's no one in the NFL though, no NFL corners that you're like, man, I would love to go up against him a couple times.
I mean, like every corner that you play in the NFL is going to be a great corner.
Love that.
And so I guess I wouldn't like single out anybody. Maybe like if I get the opportunity to go against some of the guys that I was going against in fall camp my freshman year, like Caillou or like
Mm.
Ethan, just like get a chance to go against them again.
That'd be great, man. Like a little jersey swap after the game too. That'd be pretty cool with the
Yeah.
two of you too, man. A couple more questions, but I really appreciate the time. What are some of your team goals for this upcoming season?
Yeah, for sure. One, it's just like you never go into the game expecting to lose. It would be stupid to do that. And so I don't think we are gonna have the mentality of going into any game expecting to lose. But obviously, like you can't control every single aspect. But our expectation is to win. And then in addition to that is just like leave everything out there. Every single play. Like we come back on Sundays after the Saturday game, or I guess we might play on Friday as well. But when we come back on Sundays and we watch the film, we should be able to look at it and be like, wow, we put our whole being into every single snap, and every single second of all those snaps out there. So I think that's another big goal for us as well.
Now I know you're an extremely selfless guy, man, but do you have any personal goals for this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think for me in specific as well, it's just that second point right there. Like every single play, if you can give 100% of your being into it, I think you can look up and be proud of what you put out there. Because I mean, the stats can always be pretty misleading. Like if the defense is shifting over to you and they're trying to take you out of the game in terms of receiving, there's going to be something that else is going to be open for the team. But you're going to need to contribute to that as well. And so I think again, putting like 100% effort and then also executing while having good effort is just something that I'm trying to do this season.
I love that, man. And listen, I don't know if you know this, but there are a lot of kids out there that look up to you, right, as a guy that they want to be and a guy that they want to model their game after, or just as a human being, obviously, as well. What advice would you give those kids that look up to you right now?
Yeah, I think something that I had always been ingrained is in me as a kid is just want to be the best at everything that you do, but also realize that in order to do that, it takes commitment and dedication. Like even yeah, you have to put everything into. You have to commit your whole being into doing things. Because if you don't do that, at the end of the day, like even if you put 95% into what you're doing, you're gonna look back when you're older and gonna be like, I could have put 5 more percent in. Like, where would have I been if I put 5 more percent in? So I think just give everything you got to things that you want to do, whether it be football, whether it be school, if something else, even if it's something else that you're trying to do in life. If you put 100% into it, you're never gonna regret what you did because you know you put everything into it.
That's an amazing answer, man. And the last question I wanted to ask you, what should we, as college football fans, expect from Elic Ayomanor in 2024?
Yeah, just a very gritty player. Somebody who's gonna can be flashy at sometimes, but you can always count on me to get my job done when I need to.
Hell yeah, man. I love that. Well, listen, man, this has been an awesome, awesome interview. Best of luck this upcoming season.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for watching the PFF College Football Show. Before I let you go, though, we have an unbelievable deal for you guys right now. If you use the code CFB25, you get 25% off your PFF Plus annual subscription. We've got the 2024 College Football Preview Guide that you can find over at pff.com, featuring the best players in the country from all 70 Power 5 teams, plus 10 Group of 5 teams that have the best chance at making the college football playoff as well. You can also gain access to NCAA premium stats for historical games, teams, and player tracking dating all the way back to 2014, so the last decade or so of college football. All the stats you can hope for, you can find in PFF Premium as well. Also, you can be the GM of your favorite NFL team with our unbelievable mock draft simulator, where you can draft up to 7 rounds of players for your NFL team. And if you want to dominate your fantasy league, you can do that as well using the best fantasy tools on the planet. All of that and more with your PFF Plus annual subscription, which you can find for 25% off right now with the code you can find in the description. Or if you want to go to subscribe.pff.com and use the code CFB25 at checkout. Again, you get 25% off your PFF Plus subscription. This won't last forever, so make sure you take advantage of it right now.